In which sectors are companies most likely to be talking about real estate cuts? And just fill in any gaps if I missed any as to how you got to this research, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, morning. No, I think that's a pretty good summation. And when we went into this exercise, I guess I was expecting to see a lot of restaurants, a lot of retailers looking to cut real estate costs. That won't come as a surprise to anyone. And yes, we did. We found lots of them. They've obviously been really hard hit. But the thing that was really striking was the breadth of companies, the breadth of sectors that are also looking at real estate. So, you mentioned all these empty offices, lots of finance companies, lots of media companies, lots of tech companies, all thinking about how they're going to change how they work, how much real estate they'll really need in future. And it wasn't just offices either. There's also, odd examples of data centers being rationalized, even some warehouses, airlines cutting back on a bit of warehouse space. So really broad range of companies in all over the world who are all tussling with the same question.
So is the pullback expected to be temporary? I mean, we were just talking with one long-term city exec who said, maybe when people come back to work, they'll work from home for the foreseeable future for a couple days a week. But he didn't sound like he thought it would be permanent.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of different trends here. I guess you've got the sort of the cyclical impact of an incredibly deep recession all around the world, and how that's affecting companies' thoughts about cost cutting, and of which real estate is one part. So there's a lot of discussion of that going on, and then as you alluded to, you've got the more structural change, which is people saying, okay, how much office space do we really need going forward if not everybody's going to be in the office all the time? That is much more of an open question. I think companies are really still trying to figure out, how do we deal with the idea that maybe people want to be in 3 days a week and at home 2 days a week if everybody's going to want to be in, say, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I heard one real estate executive describe it the other day as the midweek mountain. Are you actually able to shave any real estate costs if everybody's essentially going to be in the office at the same time? So, lots of those questions are very much live. Those debates are live. But I think what this exercise showed us is that, CFOs are really quite focused on this issue. And, even if you only have a relatively small number of office occupiers shrinking their real estate, it's not going to take a lot at a macro level to hugely disrupt the market.
Yeah, and what does that mean for those people who put money to work in the real estate sector, who allocate towards real estate? Are we likely to see institutions reducing those allocations then, Jack?
Yeah, well, this is key, obviously. The biggest chunk of capital that invests in real estate globally are pension funds, insurance companies, liability matching type investors. And they like real estate because it's supposed to be secure, long-term income, low correlation. It's a really nice diversifier for them. But, there are so many instances here where we had, insurance companies, pension funds owning buildings that were leased to companies that looked rock solid, and they had long leases. And they thought, this is absolutely, secure, safe haven income. But the crisis has shown, that isn't always the case. We had some very, very well-capitalized companies suddenly unable or unwilling to pay their rent. So that's, a really existential question for these types of investors. Do they stick with real estate when maybe it isn't quite as secure as they would have hoped? I guess on the other side of the coin, you've got an incredibly anemic returns in fixed income, in all the other alternative areas that they would have invested. So you can totally make the case that actually real estate looks really, really attractive. I think what you'll probably see is a real recycling within real estate from one sector to another. You can already see that with things like the shift from, physical retail into e-commerce. I suspect you'll get something similar that happens in other sort of subsectors of real estate like office.